Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. Hello and welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad, where we are embarking on Season 2, Episode 1. So exciting. Wes, what's been going on?
Andrea, welcome back. It's Season 2. Can you believe it?
I literally can't.
We've had lots of stuff going on. We've got books coming out halfway through the summer. So if you're listening in real time, you know that. If you're listening later, it's halfway through the summer. So we have lots of fun things going on. Didn't you just have a book come out not too long ago?
Yes, so I'm very proud of my latest book. It's called Vibrational Mastery, A High Vibration is Your Superpower, because it truly is. And once you can really harness your vibration, manifesting comes so much easier because it's all about your vibration.
That's right. And they can find that on Amazon, right? Where else?
Yes, you can go to Amazon. It's there. You can also go to my website, howgooditcanget.com, or follow me on Instagram at An Abundant Universe.
Yes, and this is going to be one of those books. If you're in a book club or if you like to bring a book club into your company, bring it to your team, show them how to do something different, and everybody reaps the benefits. It's great. Plus, we have Sydney's new bike that is coming out. It's basically been done for a while, but is now being published. Tell us about Sydney's new bike.
Okay, so if you've been listening, you know that Wes and I, this whole thing started with a little book called What Color Is Your Dragon? And it was the first installment in the Enlightened Children series. It was really well received. We're very proud of it, very happy with the book, and so excited that installment 2, Sydney's new bike, has now been released. I could not be happier. It's all about, Wes, you and I wanted to change the world.
Yeah, we wanted to do something. And so we thought about that, and God showed us the book. Then Andrea and I put it together, and it is about teaching our children how to love themselves, how to step into their power, how to create the life that they want through manifestation. And in book number 2, Sydney wants to get a new bicycle, so she's learning about that. She meets a new character named Charlotte, and she helps Charlotte raise money for a service dog. It's a really cool story. It's very well written. It's just on Amazon right now. And this is something, this series you can take home and the family unit can work together. Your children are going to love it. And there's also a guide in the back for parents, right?
Yes, and that's one thing that we're really proud of, and we think that kind of sets us apart, is that you can take this parent's resource guide in the back, and the story doesn't end at bedtime. These are real life things that you can incorporate into your everyday, like affirmations, different things like that, definitions of what is manifesting. It's truly the book that Wes and I wish we had when we were children, and how different would our lives be if we'd had that?
Exactly. It would save us decades of pain and misery trying to get to where we're at right now. My favorite part in book number 1 is when Sydney goes to the cafeteria, her magic dragon realizes something's off, and Sydney says basically she's scared and she doesn't see anybody she knows, and she's reminded who she is. She steps into her power, she closes her eyes, she grounds herself and steps into that cafeteria, a fucking powerhouse, and she rocks it. I love that. And if you don't know, Sydney's my little girl, and Sydney's a powerhouse. I love you, honey.
That's very sweet. Yes, Wes, that's sweet. And who cannot relate to going into a cafeteria in school and being so nervous, right?
I know. And imagine if my daughter actually listened to the podcast, she would have heard that message.
I'm sure she's listening. Hello, Sydney.
Hi, Sydney. Love you. So what else?
Well, no. Before we move on,
Yeah.
Wes, you have a book coming out.
Oh, yes, I do. It's called The 15-Minute Transformation. And what it is 15 minutes that you can take a day and change the way you think, change the way your body operates, how you feel, how to shift out of negative energy. And it's a simple book. The whole premise on the books that we're writing is healing doesn't take years. It could take moments. So we're giving you the bare knuckle, this is what you need to do. Do this and it changes things. It's going to be fun.
Yes, you guys need to get that book. It is amazing. Wes and I always say healing does not have to take forever. It can happen in an instant. And, you know, he gives you the tools to do that. All right. So, Wes, do you have anything else you want to add before we go into season 2?
You know, I was looking, we have the best listeners. We're now in Poland, and so that's 10 countries for us, not counting what is being listened to on YouTube and other places. So we're having a great time. Thank you so much. We've got people reaching out on a regular basis, and we just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for helping us with this. It's been fun.
Yes, and please continue to reach out at vbhealer.com or follow us on Instagram at vbhealer. Send in your questions. Tell us what you want to hear more of. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so Wes, season 1 of Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad took us on a wild ride. We started out with your time in the Marines and how that was a foreshadowing of what was to come in the haunted house. You took us all the way through the haunted house, sending families to the light, and then having Linda and Kathleen come and help you, and all the way through 4th of July weekend, the things crawling in your throat. It was amazing. It was crazy. What are we going to learn about in episode 1 of season 2?
Episode 1 of season 2, I get to meet one of the most amazing, gifted, talented, loving persons I've ever met in my entire life. Her name is Lakota. A lot of the people listening to the podcast know who she is. She is a Lakota medicine woman, and she saved my life. She ultimately was able to fix everything, and if it wasn't for her, there's no way, no how I would be here today. I can tell you that. She saved my life, and it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it.
Cool. Let's do that. So when we left off last time, we had Linda and Kathleen come in and talk about things. But in the story, I had stayed in that hotel, and something had paralyzed me in my sleep, and when I gasped for air, it crawled into my throat, into my chest, and made a nest. And I remember that was a new level of pain for me. You know, it's funny as the story goes. You know, I remember thinking things couldn't be this bad, and then they would be worse, and then they would be worse, and then they would be worse. And the isolation and the desperation that I had trying to figure things out was just overwhelming. I lost so much weight. You know, I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, and you know, we had already talked about where I had met Sandra Grace, and Sandra Grace introduced me to Jackie. Well, Jackie introduced me to Lakota One Heart. And so after we did that session where I found my spirit animal, she goes, "Hey, look, I'm going to give you the number of this lady, and you need to call her, and she is a Lakota medicine woman." And I remember thinking to myself, what the fuck are you talking about? And then I'm like, does she speak English? So I don't know. I mean, this is all new to me. So I did not have enough money to leave Jackie a tip. So I went to the store and came back, and I heard her talking to this woman about me. And she was telling her about my story and stuff. And, you know, she's very kind in what she was saying. And she said, "I think you can help this person." So she came out and we talked a minute, and I gave her the tip. And as I was driving home, if you know Jackie at all and she wants you to do something, she's going to blow your ass up. So after about the 5th phone call and text within an hour, I'm like, yes, I'll fucking call this lady. So I pulled over and I'm talking to this woman that's 8 hours away. And she says, I can hear your ancestors speaking as I'm talking to you. And I didn't understand that. And she said, you have Native American in your bloodline. And I was like, yes, ma'am, I do. At least I believe I do. And she said, I can hear your rattle when you talk. You know, a Native American rattle, this medicine rattle is what she was talking about. And I didn't know what she was referring to. And we talked for a couple minutes, and she was quite to the point. She says, you need to come to my mountain, sit in my medicine wheel. That's what you need to do. And I'm like, I didn't understand any of it, but she was very kind, and she said she could help me. So I'm like, all right, well, where's that? And she's like, oh, I'm in Abington, Virginia. I'm like, fuck, really? It's like 7.5, 8 hours away. So I told her, I said, text me the address. Let me figure it out. And I remember getting off the phone. And I was off, if you're familiar with this area, I was on one of the back roads in my Jeep down by Lesnar Bridge and not Sandbridge, but Chicks Beach area. And I just remember when I got off the phone with her, how alone I was. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And so I put this address in my phone. I'm like, seriously? So if you look at the map of Virginia, to the west, the state of Virginia goes down to this little point. And I remember specifically earlier in my life saying, I'll never fucking go to that part of Virginia. I just didn't want to go. And of course, that's where I'm going, almost to Tennessee. But there was a glimmer of hope. Hope is one of my favorite 4-letter words. The other one may start with the F, but this is one of my favorites too. And I just remembered there was a glimmer of hope because everybody else was like really far away. The priest hasn't come yet. Just all these things haven't come to place. All these things haven't come together for me to fix the problem. So I'm like, all right, I called Ty. I said, hey, brother. He's like, what's up? I'm like, I think this was Thursday. I said, you want to make a road trip to go meet this Indian lady up in the mountains? He's like, yeah, why not? I'm like, yeah, what could go wrong? So I had just moved into the KOA, right? So I had moved off my property because, when we did that ceremony where we helped all those families, the demons or whatever got so powerful, they took over the property. Now they're following me. So I couldn't sleep there anymore. And the vibration that I was carrying with the dark energies attached to me, everybody at the KOA treated me like shit. God, they were fucking rude. And there was this one pregnant young lady that was just nasty to me every time I seen her. And I remember saying, what the fuck, man? Could y'all just leave me alone? And so that was my living situation, living in a KOA, in a campground, at the beach. And I can promise you, if you're staying at a KOA or any campground and you're staying there for long periods of time, it costs about $2,700 a month. So it wasn't cheap. And I'm paying for the other house. And I'm not working. So it was financially painful as well. So I grabbed Ty and we go up the next day. And the point with the campground is they made me move my equipment, move my trailer and stuff on a regular basis just to mess with me. So I'd have to move like one space over, then I could move back and somebody would come in for one night. So instead of them moving that person somewhere else, they just simply said, no, I had to move. So we drove up on Friday and we came back Saturday because on Sunday I had to be moved. So we get in the truck. It's me, Kennedy, and Ty. We're driving across country. It felt like driving across country. Jesus, man. I mean, I don't know. I'm not much on driving. I don't enjoy that. So I've got this big lifted diesel truck, 35-inch monster tires. The truck's name was Betsy. I loved Betsy. So Kennedy was in the back. Ty was sleeping. He always fucking slept in the truck, man. I'm like, dude, can you wake up at least for 5 minutes? So we get out there. And when you turn off the road, you're literally driving up the side of a mountain. And I mean, we're kind of looking at each other like, we don't know who these people are. I don't know if they're safe. We're going up this, literally a dirt road up the side of a mountain, crossing over a handmade bridge in a very, very heavy truck. And when we crossed the bridge, there was this stone that was there that she painted white, and there's a cross with a circle around it. I did not know that represented the medicine wheel, a Native American medicine wheel. And I looked at Ty, and I'm like, Ty, I'm not going to let him hang you, brother. I mean, it looked like some KKK shit to me. I don't know. But we were a little worried, and I was like, well, I've got my 45, and he's like, I've got my whatever he carries. And I'm like, okay. So we go up there. It's like a half mile up this mountain. And one of the things Jackie said is that mountain is so heavily protected and so divine that there's actually a bubble of energy around it. And I'm like, oh, okay. She was right. Because true to form, everything I was going through at that time, I was so spiritually open. When we crossed through that bubble, it was like almost going through a plate glass, and it was slicing through my body. It was so freaking painful. And I remember looking at Ty saying, God damn, dude, this hurts. And he's like, everything hurts that you're going through. I'm like, yeah, it does. And I'll never forget that feeling. I'll never forget the feeling that I have just stepped into another realm or another world that I didn't know existed, that was magical, that was beautiful, that was complex, that was all these things. I just knew something happened, and that was a significant moment in my life. So we get up the trail a little bit further, and as you're going up, there's trees on either side. The truck's bouncing you around kind of crazy. And on the right side, you see this pasture, and there's these beautiful horses there. The horses always come up and say hello. And you go a little bit further, and there's this gate. And up the hill, on a farm, there's things there's debris laying around. There's stuff. There's this cement buffalo that represents her property and her culture. And so we go through the gate, and I can hear dogs barking and stuff. And as you go up, to the left is down this little valley and up this big hill. And to the right, if you look over behind you, is this beautiful valley. And everything's so green. It's amazing. So as you're there in the moment, it's extraordinary. But for me, I was just trying to stay alive, I mean, I was desperate, and I didn't know these people, and I don't do things like that. It's not comfortable for me, and I'm going to a stranger and saying I'm in trouble. And Ty was looking at everything in God's glory, and I was looking at everything as I just want to be able to live another week. And they had this old building on the left that was probably 250 years old, this wooden log cabin that this family had built hundreds of years ago. And it's so beautiful to look at. These timbers are, 40 feet long, and you can see where they had hand cut everything, and it fit together perfectly. And, you can feel the earthiness of it. And when you touched it, you could just feel, that's the American dream. That's what we're here for, is to build something with our hands. And this family carved a life out of the side of this mountain, and now this woman is here. And as you go around the bend a little bit more, there's these pens where her dogs are, and there's this big outside gazebo area that's covered, and it's probably 60 by 40. It's huge. Well, that's where everybody has community meals. When you go up there, you're going to eat as a community. You're going to sit as a community. You're going to communicate as a family. And I see people up there and they're waving, and behind that is this little house that she built that was really cute. And when you look further up the road, there's I found out later, is the Peace Chamber. And the Peace Chamber is this octagon-shaped building with a metal roof and windows all the way around it that is a sacred place. And so I pull up, and it's steep. It's like a 30% slope. Nothing there is fucking flat. It's like you're going uphill everywhere you go. And we get out, and she just comes with this big, beautiful smile and hugs me and embraces me like she's known me forever. And come to find out, she has known me forever. We've been brothers and sisters and stuff in past lives, and we can talk about that a little bit maybe later. But, I felt like I was home. And there was this lady there. I think that's the first time I met Dee. And Dee is this powerful, beautiful, gifted black woman, and she likes to tease me. I'm like, all right, Dee. She thinks it's funny as hell, but she likes to pick on me. And she looked at me funny, and she gave me a big hug, and I just fell in love with Dee the second I seen her. And, she's one of the people that showed up at the end with my rebirthing ceremony. And, in a time where people say that if we don't look alike, we can't be friends, it's such BS. Because I don't see that in this country. I don't see that. I was born colorblind, and it's funny, in my life I lived colorblind because everybody is just a friend. And Dee accepted me with no questions asked, knowing what I was going through. They all knew what I was going through, and they brought me to their home and loved me. And they didn't treat me any different. And so we get there and we park, and Ty and I are talking to her. She knew we didn't have a lot of time. So she's like, you're going to go to these sacred places on the mountain, and you're going to say these prayers. So Ty and I, she's like, well, why don't you write it down? I'll tell it to you in English. And we're like, oh, no, say it in your language. We'll figure it out. We butchered the words so friggin' bad. So Ty and I are, Ty's from New Jersey, right? And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm looking at him like, what the fuck? Dee knows what we're getting ready to have to go do. So Dee's up there just sitting back laughing. And so she gives us these words, and she says, here, I want you to eat some sage. Well, if you haven't eaten sage, fuck. If you cuss around the sacred fire, which I may have done a few times, you have to eat sage. So we're eating this sage, which is horrible to taste. And we're going, she's like, go down this pathway, and then you're going to cross this little ditch, and then you're going to see a walkway, and you go to the top of the mountain. Then you're going to look for a sacred tree, and then you're going to pray in front of this sacred tree. And when you're done with the sacred tree, you're going to come down this other pathway, and you're going to come up over here to the Peace Chamber. And I'm looking at time like, what the fuck, man? I'm like getting directions. You go past the third rock on the fourth tree and take a left by where Billy Bob gave birth to the goat's cousin's Frank. It's one of those things. And she's got this big smile on her face, and we're like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. We were eager, and we're going to do our stuff. And we start walking down this path, and there's a fucking bear in front of us, right? I see this big hoof, I guess it's a hoof, whatever the bear paw is, stepping into the bushes, and you can't hear it walking. So I look up, I said, hey, bear, and Ty turned 8 shades of white. And if you don't know, Ty's a black man, and I'm a white man. And he looks at me, his eyes are so big. He's like, what do you mean bear? I was like, there's a fucking bear right there. And he's like, he starts backing up. I said, I think we're going to be fine. So maybe we should make some more noise when we walk. I'm like, hey, bear. And that bear like disappeared. It was creepy. There's no way that thing could have walked away without us seeing it or hearing it. I seen it clearly, then it was gone. So that is the bear had come to greet us. The bear had come to bless us. You know, that was a big blessing in that community. That was a big blessing in our culture. We just didn't know it yet. And we're two city boys in the woods. And so we're walking down this pathway, looking around. Ty's eyes were pretty wide open. And so we go up this pathway and find this sacred tree. And we're over there trying to read these words and stuff and act like we're being fucking holy and spiritual, and did that for a while. Then we came down the other side, and just looking across the mountain was just extraordinary and it's beautiful. And this woman has lived off grid for 20 plus years at that point. No refrigeration, no bathroom. There's an outhouse, and she loves it. It's beautiful. And so we go down there and just in a state of shock, honestly. At least I was. And she says, come here. I want you to sit in my medicine wheel. So the medicine wheel that she has is on this giant stone that's about 14 foot across. And on top of the stone are little rocks that go around in a circle, and then it divides it into 4 quadrants: east, south, west, and north. And she had us go in there and sit down, and she's talking to us. She's giving us like an educational something. I don't remember her words, but we were talking, and she sang this song that like wakes up the wheel. And I've never experienced anything like it ever before in my life. She had the most beautiful voice. And she says that very few people can hear the stones singing and talking. And as she started to sing, it was like there was 10 big speakers around us in a circle on the level 10. It was so incredibly loud. You wanted to cover your ears, but it didn't hurt. And I could hear the stones sing. I could hear the stones vibrate. And when you looked in front of you, the vibration was so high that it looked like little minnows. Millions of minnows in front of you was vibrating the atmosphere, the oxygen, the air. And my body was shifting. Ty could hear it too, and he could see it. And I mean, it was like going into the fucking Twilight Zone. It was beyond, this doesn't even describe how extraordinary this moment was. And I can remember thinking all I wanted to do was die. Because I was just so fucking broken, but I didn't know how to die. And here's this stranger bringing me to her home. And I can help you. I can fix you. I can do this. I'm like, okay. And sharing this beautiful culture that most people don't get to experience. And she finished singing this song, and it changes things for me. It changed things for me. It changed things for Ty. And I remember we just sat there in awe. I'm like, I don't understand what just happened. You know, it's one of those, almost like a God moment where it's like, wow, really? Did this miracle just happen? And this is when all these, there was miracles happening for me already. I just didn't understand it. Like seeing the demons and stuff. That miracle was, if that's real, then there's got to be something real on the opposite side. There has to be a God if There's got to be God. There's got to be Jesus. If that's fucking standing there and I'm taking pictures of it and I'm seeing it, the other has to be real. And I didn't understand what a miracle that was at the time. So we're sitting there on this rock, and Kennedy was with me, and she is such a good girl. And, you know, she's not been sleeping because she would see these demons and she would try to protect me. And she would like crawl onto my chest at night and try to keep me safe. And, you know, if we were driving the Jeep down to the beach and there was somebody there, a lot of times there was a homeless person on the corner that would have something dark in them, that as the person would look the other way, I could see the demon staring at me, and Kennedy would be going off the deep end. I mean, the whole Jeep going back and forth. And so it's like, you know, we're coming out of active combat and instantly going into a safe zone. It's fucking weird. If you've ever experienced that, you know what I'm talking about. You know, you're hypersensitive, you're hyper alert. My body is riddled with pain from head to toe. You know, I just still recovering from back surgery. I am fucking miserable. And this woman just looks at me and she says, I love you. I mean, who says that? Who says that? And she meant it. And she says, okay, after a little bit, I want you to go up to the peace chamber and you guys are going to drum. I'll be up there shortly. And, you know, we go up there and we're in this octagon room it's got cinder blocks, the big gray ones, the first 4 feet up. Then the other 3 or 4 feet is this plexiglass. And so the plexiglass goes all the way around so you can see around 360. And, you know, there's fucking dead bones in there and some other weird stuff. And I'm like, this is freaking me out. You know, there's this head. There's a head of a buffalo that's been painted. And I'm like, all right, we're not Kansas anymore, Ty. You know, his eyes are so big. He's like, oh, what are we doing? I don't know. And as we're sitting there, looking through the plexiglass is a little, you know, it's not crystal clear. Well, there's a giant fucking bear right there, which actually it wasn't. It was one of her big black dogs that scared the bejesus out of us. But it looks like a bear, and because he was on this dirt mound behind where we're at. And what I didn't realize is 3 or 4 months later, on the other side of this building, I'm going to be digging my grave. I am going to be preparing to energetically die and then be reborn. And I didn't know it yet. So she comes up and she talks to us, and she did some prayers, and we're drumming this drum, and it sounds like the heartbeat is dun 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 basically. And you know, we did it for hours, and this drum is like 20 inches across, and I can promise you it gets a little mind-boggling after 3 minutes, let alone hours of just sitting there. Me and him both have a, I don't know, what do you call them things? A fucking drumstick or whatever in your hand. And you're trying to drum in tune with each other. Something after a little while extraordinary happened. The energy of that room was building and building and building. And if you drum in there long enough and you have your prayers in place, this energy field opens that is something you'll never experience anywhere else. As you hit that drum beat, literally the walls feel like they're bouncing 8 inches back and forth. The roof sounds like it's going to bounce off the top. This almost like this vortex or something opens up, and the energy in there is just, it's beautiful. It's numbing. You know, being on that mountain, you lose track of time because there's like You're just in a different place. And we're looking at each other and we're drumming. You could feel this beating through your body, beating through the walls. And it was life-changing. I don't even know what it is. Even years later, I don't comprehend what that is. And I've only been able to duplicate it there a few times. That, to me, looking back now, is the ancestors coming to see us. The Native American ancestors stepping into that room, and when they come in, the energy changes. They came to welcome us, to honor us with their presence, to be there for support. And despite all the pain, the sadness, the loss, despite all of it, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced. Next to holding my little girl when she was born. And I just fell in love with that place, and I fell in love with Lakota, and she is my friend. So as quickly as that came, it kind of went. And when it was there, you could hear other Native Americans drumming in the background that weren't there. I felt this energy above the building. I didn't understand what it was at the time, but it was the green-eyed dragon that was coming to greet me, that would show itself to me later. And so all of a sudden, the energy starts to fade away. The room feels normal again. And here comes Lakota. She knew what happened. And she has this unique ability just to fucking show up, dude. You could be anywhere on that mountain. You turn around, it's like, oh, hello, hi. How did you get here? And you were that quiet. That's creepy. And she knows what conversation you were having, so you might want to watch what you're talking about up there. She goes, come on, let's eat. And we go down, and there's these people there. I don't even remember all who was there. And we sat on this pavilion outside, and we ate. And she just starts telling me, these beautiful stories. And she's like, I'm going to help you. I don't know who you are 100% yet, but I know you're somebody, and I'm going to help you. So that is the first time I met Lakota One Heart. And she comes to this market, to Virginia Beach, and she does sweat lodges and readings and things. If you're interested, you reach out to me through VB Healer or vbhealer.com, because she's going to be here in August, and then again, I think in September. So if you want to participate in some of her stuff, we can make that happen for you. So Andrea, that's how I met Lakota.
Wes, that is an amazing story. Like, there's no one else I know that will casually mention a green-eyed dragon and then just keep moving on.
Well, wait till you meet the red-eyed dragon or the blue-eyed dragon.
This is all just a day in the life of Wes Coons.
Yeah, the normal things we talk about.
All right, Wes, thank you. I'm so excited for season 2. This is just episode 1. This is just a glimpse at all of the, what we like to say, crazy stuff that is coming for you guys. So we got a new look, new season. And I'm so excited that we're talking about Lakota and Ty, because they're going to be guests.
Yeah, we have a lot of guests coming on this season, trying to coordinate that. People are traveling, things of that nature. So you're going to meet Ty, you're going to meet Lakota. Dee is going to come on the show. She doesn't know it yet, but her ass is going to come over here. Who else? Oh, Karen. Wait till you meet Karen. I love Karen. She's going to be on the show. And Diana, my childhood friend, who she went through her spiritual awakening the same time as I did. She's an amazing healer. She's going to be here. We're going to have Margaret on the show in the future. She's not part of this story, but she's somebody that you're going to get to know. We've got lots of people that are going to come on, and it's going to be really cool. It's going to be a fun experience for you. It's 100% real, and I can't wait to tell it.
Yes, thank you, Wes. We can't wait to hear it. You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.